Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Men of God Podcast, episode 7, right?
7.
Six.
Episode 7. Oh,
Six.
sorry. Yeah, episode 6. My bad. It's been a minute, y'all, but
A whole
we
minute.
back. Apologies for no podcast last week. We were all busy with school and doing our own thing, but we're back. We're going to try to keep it as consistent as possible. And let's go ahead and start off. So, Teme, let's start with your topic first. And talking about what should be my stance as a Black Christian. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I guess like that topic came up to me because I was thinking about like who are we as Christians and what do we have as Christians and where do we stand as Christians, and then who am I as a Black person? Like where do I stand as a Black person? And then if you put those two together, it's like I think we had a discussion about this of like saying I can be a Christian and I can be an activist kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, you can, but like being a Christian pushes you far more than where an activist gets you to, because being an activist gets you up to one point, having that like fulfillment here on earth. But what about like beyond that? Like what goes beyond that? So that's where like the stand of being a Black Christian comes in, where it's like, hey man, look, there's a freedom that I have received as a Christian that I want to share with my brothers and my sisters so that we can push past beyond this space. So it's like, as well as me fighting for their freedom, as well as me fighting for their rights, I'm also fighting for another right, which is a right to the kingdom.
Yeah, that's 100%. And it's interesting too, because I was talking last night with Jaya and with Danny about like Black is King, because I know that a lot of Christians aren't like really rocking with that. It's interesting because it kind of seems like if you were like against it, then you were like against Black people in general, since that movie was so like integral and like and it was also super inspiring and super empowering, like just seeing this like raw Blackness unfiltered on a big screen. Like that hasn't really happened before. It's post Black Panther up until now. So I feel like a lot of people now are trying to really like find that Black identity, which which I totally understand. Like, we as Black people haven't really been awarded the right to choose our own like destinies. So anything that's kind of seen as like institutional, that being like the church, is oftentimes frowned upon, whereas something that's as freeing and as just out there but still Black as King, that's what people gravitate towards the most. So I do get your point though, but that's not interesting.
I think where there's a lot of references I'm about to pull from, so buckle up. But it reminds me, like when we're talking about like Black is King and how like your stance should be and how like it's institutional and then like more is like free and like how you express yourself. That takes me back to you remember Let It Shine, when
The Disney movie?
Yeah, Let It Shine, the movie with Coco Jones.
Yeah.
And when she was like, it was like very like institutional on what, I forgot what his name was. His father was like saying the pastor of the church, when like she was trying to like express her like love for the church like in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
That was like sort of like frowned upon, because like a lot of things, like you can have like different identities, and again I feel like as just like Black people, and like especially like the older generation of Black people, they're more focused on like a one-track mind, where like our generation, we're starting to like try new things and like express ourselves, and that's really kind of not how they see it. So it's hard to really have your different like identities. Like again, the thing is, you can't please everyone. Like that's the main thing. You can't please everyone. So like, what forms of Christian music are really like legit and bring the most like glory to God, and which ones are more like lukewarm and not as truthful and faithful as others? And that's another discussion in itself. But we talked about it a lot, with your stance as a Black Christian, just like with everything happening. And it's hard because, as Ade said, we aren't given, or we haven't been given really a chance to really like figure things out for ourselves, because they like to say like we're still like 300 years behind, or we're still trying to play like catch up, because what happened to our ancestors is a real fact. Like it's real. Like anyone that says, oh, it's over, it's like not, it's still a thing that is constant, and it's proving itself time and time again, that every time we think we have a voice in a say, we really don't. Like via the NFL, the NBA, when they try and speak up, they get shot down. It's like, oh, you can't have this voice because you're so and so. But when it comes down for like Christians, it's like, how should we feel? Like, I don't think as Black people and as Christians, we like just sit down and we have these talks about like what is meant for us as Black and as Christian, because the Black in us wants to say like be angry at the world or the angry at the country for what it's done to us. But as Christians, God calls us to love and forgive. And I feel like that's very hard to balance. It's like it's like two wars waging inside you, because you can't like love and hate at the same time. So like when it comes time to like be like, oh, I forgive you for like all of this, that's hard for Black people to say. It's like, I forgive you for like what happened, and to move forward. That's what God wants us to do, but it's like, it's hard, if you get my drift.
Yeah, I feel you, because it's like it's been interesting to see this whole period like just in time, because it's like it's interesting to see people kind of conclude that being a Christian somehow makes you less Black than if you practice like African spirituality or tarot or any kind of like other type of spirituality. It's like, I mean, if you want to get historical, like the first Bible was the Ethiopian Bible, and like prior to the Middle East becoming like its own sectioned off part of the world, it was considered a part of Africa back in that time. And it's honestly, it's this whole image of like white Jesus that people oftentimes turn to. It's like, how can you as a Black man praise a God that's white, when in reality, as we all know, he wasn't. He was the farthest thing from. And the only reason that he even looks like that in pop culture is because the people who drew him at that time looked like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you like, I studied art history when I was a freshman. I don't know if you've ever seen or noticed, but when you look at the people that painted pictures of Jesus and like how they portrayed him, he looked like the painter. Like the long nose, blue eyes, like his image in that has been like inconsistent, and it's just really like interesting to see people kind of say like, Christian doesn't equal Black, which at the same time I can also understand, because I have friends that practice like other types of spirituality that grew up in Catholic school, in the church and whatever, but they unfortunately had experienced like some trauma in those areas. So once they kind of, it's like what we were saying before. So like once they got to college, or like got free, or like got woke, then they were turned away from anything that was like institutional, that being obviously the church that they grew up in. So I feel like I don't know how we as Black male Christians can kind of like change that narrative, because we don't act in a way that's like culturally Black. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't call for like the misfortune of somebody who has harmed our community. Instead, we call for the repentance of that person and the forgiveness of that person and the love of that person. Whereas culturally, as Black people, even back during the times of slavery, that's been the exact opposite. And yeah, I'm not really sure how we can change that narrative, but it'll be dope to see like in the future if more people start to like turn towards God. I don't know how, but no, Lord, the Lord works in mysterious ways. So I guess we'll get a backseat to that. But you also said something too that was interesting about how like we praise God differently than like other uh, generations of Black people, which is
Mm-hmm.
totally true. Like I was talking to Dom about this a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, the way that we get Jesus now is not the way that they got Jesus. Like the way that like at least in the church that he went to, you had to like sit at the altar like for hours until the Holy Spirit just kind of came on you. Whereas with us, it's totally different because now we're just now like we each have had our own experiences with God and with Jesus that have like informed it in our hearts that he's real and that he's alive and that he exists. And
Mm-hmm.
but that's entirely countercultural to what has been in place. Even when you think about music, like Evan and Eris, like
Yeah.
they don't sound like freaking like Fred Hammond or like Kirk Franklin or like any of the or like or like any of the other like they sound like Bryson Tiller and like Summer Walker. But then it goes back to the thing. It's like just because they sound like that or worship like that, does that make their cause or make their art any less like any less Christian or any less spiritual?
And that's
Which
where the gap between like the generations is, because like the older generation in the church, especially Black churches, will just be like, no, shut it down. This is the way we worship. This is the way we sing. This is the way we do this. It's concrete. It's like their method is, if it's not broken, why fix it? All right.
mm-hmm.
And the thing about that is, there's a quote that I love, is like, things that don't change go extinct.
Mm-hmm.
If you
So
can't adapt, you
it,
can't
so
survive.
what do you say?
So if you can't
What's up?
adapt, you can't survive. That's how it is.
Yeah, it's like you can't like
Facts.
adapting is all about it, and it's like you can't keep forcing this. You can't keep putting your like foot down on the younger generation's neck and saying you can't do this, because it's like times are changing, and it's like you have to change along like with it. As you said, just because the music sounds like a music of pop culture doesn't mean it's following in that footsteps. It can be its own. Like comparing, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all.
hmm And then like when it comes
Nah,
to,
and
oh, go ahead, yeah.
oh, no, you got it. We got it.
And then like yeah, overall like because when you were talking about earlier about how people think that Christians anti-black, because I think I said this like a couple episodes ago about how like people how the slave masters use Christianity to suppress the slaves and everything like that. So people have been very like adamant about the past and how different religions have suppressed them in certain ways over the past 400 years. So you don't want anything that's in the way of suppressing themselves. But of course, like it's kind of like counterproductive because like you see Martin Luther King, who's one of the biggest activists we know, is that he was himself was a Christian, um, and a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, of course, like being an activist and a Christian, it can go hand in hand really, because like as long as you're not letting it overcome your original of first being a Christian, like you're not letting being an activist be your god, you know what I'm saying, or being your idol. But of course, it can come hand in hand. It shouldn't stop you from fighting for what you want to fight for at the same time. So like, and
Mm-hmm.
plus when it comes to like the old head Christians, I mean, like Haitians for example are like that. They're very judgmental of like any new people and how they act because they're so used to being stuck in their own ways. That's why they pushes other Christians away. And that mindset is even more counterproductive because like if you can't adapt to how things are changing around you, you can't accept more people that's gonna be different from how you were in the past. So that's kind of how everything kind of works out, unfortunately.
Speaking of
Exactly.
activists, you see that people in the Bible, like the prophets, they were actually big activists. Because if you see someone like Jeremiah, for example, or someone like Moses, like you had someone, I'm just going to speak with Jeremiah now. You had like Jeremiah when God was like, I'm going to punish these people for like, because they had like been messing up all the time, they've been doing wrong. Jeremiah literally cried on their behalf and he was like fighting for the people. He was like, Lord, these are my people. Like, can't you just like punish the people who led them into this place? Like, can't you just punish them alone? So you can see like um being someone who fights for the people goes hand in hand with being a Christian, because it's like, all right, I can make my petition known to God, you know, that kind of thing, where it's like, God, can you see my people, kind of thing. Yeah.
Are you doing it with your voice on purpose? I'm sorry. I know it's kind of.
That's that. I was
What happened to my voice?
It's not necessarily a high pitch.
Like you were like up here. You sound like a chipmunk, bro.
Like Michael.
I don't know why does his voice sound like that?
I was like, what? I was like, why is Josh's face looking like that? I'm like, why is he looking?
I'm listening. I'm like, is he doing that on purpose? My mic. I'm like, what?
I thought that you were trolling at first.
Right, I was like,
I still did
around.
That's why I had to think for a moment. I was like, okay, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. I do feel that though. And the interesting thing now is that the church can't just say because God said so anymore. Like, I don't know if any of y'all like kind of grew up in church. I kind of did. Like I went Sunday service and yeah. But like oftentimes when people have the hard-hitting questions like about like, you know, music or like homosexuality or like sex or whatever, the church just says don't do it, otherwise God will like hurt you or whatever, or they just say because God said so. But nowadays people need like actual answers, because like you said, John, like the world's changing and Christianity can't stay the way that it is and not evolve with the times. Not saying that the message in the gospel is overrated, because it is overrated and out of touch, because it's not. But the way in which we present it needs to change. Because what worked in one season is gonna work in the other. That's putting God in a box, and we as Christians can't be doing that really, like at all.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to tie this in with the next topic.
Your
yeah. Can you change your voice, please?
What's wrong with my voice?
You keep talking like, can we go to the next topic, please?
I don't know why you're making your voice sound like that. Yeah.
You're talking like
He knows full that's not how he speaks.
It's ASMR, man.
I hate you.
I don't know. Don't do
They didn't ask for that.
Don't
I asked for that, yo.
All right, y'all. We're looking for a new host now. 10 minutes off the podcast.
We're holding editions next Saturday.
Shoot.
Look, maybe it's the pop filter that makes my voice sound like that.
What?
The what filter?
he said the pop filter is mic filter.
Man, that's some cat. You know you just doing it on purpose.
Man's got a pop filter and thinks he's the next. I don't know.
How about now?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah,
you see, I told you it's the pop filter.
Anyway, yeah, we can move on to the next topic. Let's talk about cancel culture and how stupid it is. John, what's up? Talk to us.
Alright, so I thought I noticed something, right? Because I be just going through TikTok sometimes, right? And there's this dude, like he would just do these random faces. He'll go like smile and then just resting face, right? To like different situations, right? And then like I guess one of the videos like it was some guy, and then like he randomly changes to like a dress or something like that. So then he went to his resting face. So I guess people were just mad about it, and they're like, "Bro, you're being homophobic." Da, da, da. And then some people was like, "Bro, he's not even saying words," but. And that whole entire argument. So they all like mass reported his accounts and then got like 4 of his accounts banned off the site for no reason. I'm like, this is all over facial expressions. Keep that in mind, right? And then to make things worse, you find out they made an article about him on New York Times. Again, facial expressions, no words, facial expressions. I'm like, yo, y'all taking this way too far over some dude making facial expressions because y'all feeling butthurt. It's about it to mine. It's like, yo, y'all. The community, I guess they call them the alt community on that app. It's like they just like take things too far. Anytime someone doesn't agree with them on a certain subject, they feel like, oh, we gotta cancel you. And it's like it's gone to the point where it's like now you you're not even doing it for the right reasons. It's fine. You're just doing it because you're mad, because you're butthurt about something. So it's like it's got a little too far at this point. Y'all just cancel people just feel like they don't agree with you, not because they're really doing anything wrong. So yeah, that's how it is.
I don't like. I get people that are harmful being removed from power, and like people that are spreading like false narrative and whatever being removed from power. Like I get that, but what is cancel culture like actually helped with aside from like aside from like R. Kelly? Like who's been?
I feel like there's a very thin line between cancel culture and holding people accountable. Like I feel like somewhere that line gets blurred because rule number 1 about cancel culture: don't mess with K-pop stans. They're terrifying. I've seen their work.
K-pop Twitter is something
scary.
else.
It's scary. It's scary. But there's a very thin line between like so. All right, so there's like most people use cancel culture. So say like if we all know what's happened. Like some person in college, you already know who they are. They were like on Snapchat or something saying the N-word, and right. you all know they can't, and you all know they can't say it. So what generally happens is someone records that, somehow it gets into the hands of Twitter, somehow it gets into the hands of like K-pop stans and Black Twitter, and when those two work together, anything is possible. And anything is possible when those guys work together. So, would you think that's cancel culture, or do you think that's holding someone accountable for what they did?
I'd say
because like we're talking about like the result is like people are sending emails to like the school, the dean, and everything, trying to get them like out of like college because of what happened. So is that accountability, or is that going too far as into the cancel culture?
I mean, that's kind of.
I don't think.
Really it depends, because like really, it depends on the person's. Like if the person's old enough to know, like bro, you shouldn't even be saying that, bro. You're just being blatantly racist, and whatever you get what you get, bro. Honestly, like if you're like 16, 17, you know full well you're not supposed to be saying that, bro, and you're recording it, like that's on you. You know what I'm saying? You should know better. But if it's like something they did like years back and they could have easily changed, I mean, I'm like, it's like, are we really gonna spend this? If it's like 2 years ago, a year ago, it's like, all right, it's recent, bro. So I mean, you're probably still the same person. But like, if it's like 10, 15, depending on what they did, of course. Depending on what they did, but
I mean, if it's like, because you have the whole thing with Kevin Hart and Before the Awards show.
That was
like,
stupid.
Yeah, when all that came out, like I feel like that was going a little bit too far, because it was like that was years ago. Like right. People, I've the opinion that people can change, but it's like you have to show something that you changed. It's like you can't just be like hiding in like the dark, and then like when all of this like comes out, it's like, oh, I've changed, I've done all of this, and it's like, all right, so what were you doing until this actually came out, and what were you doing in like the past? So that I can say is cancel culture. I mean, is not all right. But I feel like people somehow mistake holding people accountable for canceling them. Because underneath those posts, it's like, oh, cancel culture has gone too far. Why are you ruining this young person? And it's like, how it goes. And it goes into, this ties in with how much leniency, it shows how much leniency, one favors the other. Because it's like, if it was like a white kid, and it'll be like, oh, little like Jimmy was like 14 at the time, he can change. And then you have like Trey, who's like did probably something like less at 14, and they're like, oh, there needs to be a lesson so that he knows what not to do it again. I feel like there's also a leniency with holding people accountable and cancel culture, depending on who it is.
Yes, I agree.
There is totally.
Because on the same on TikTok, there's pedophiles on there. They're not canceling them. I'm like, y'all
100%
choosing who you want to cancel.
If that's the case, Netflix should be canceled.
What's that thing that's been going on? Because I keep seeing people talk about it. What is that?
We'll talk after. I'll let you know after. I'll let you know when we're done.
All right. But here's the thing about holding people accountable. I'm 100% for it, but I don't think we should be like advocating for their consequence as well. Like, like if somebody does something bad, yeah, we should like it like what you said. If a student like says the N word or something and puts it on Snapchat, yeah, we should of course bring that to the school and like bring that to the people who are in charge of that person and like accountable for that person. But we shouldn't be saying like you deserve to get kicked out. You deserve this. You deserve that. Again, depending on the severity. If there's like a pedophile running Nickelodeon or Disney, then yeah, of course, like advocate for him to be taken out of his position. But if it's like, but if it's a kid who's in college or who's in high school rather, who just wanted to be edgy and say like, "Oh, I'm seeing the other," like, then you shouldn't be like, let's ruin this kid's like entire future, pretty much,
Right,
because you can't come back from that.
right. Because there's a difference between like the kid that just says it like with the hard R and saying it to be racist, and the guy that's saying it like, oh, because it's a black friend, let him say it. You just call him saying it one day. Like it's really difference between those two type of things, So it's like,
Some
There is.
of these Snapchat people be using it with a hard R.
oh yeah, with the
They
hard R,
do.
you wildin'. I'm like, yeah.
And if you use it with R, and if you use it with a hard R, you just might end up in the ER. That's all I'm trying to say.
Hard R and end up in the ER. That's a bar actually. That's like a Lil Wayne bar.
I'm gonna need to
Yeah,
like
Wayne Bar.
credit like the whole for that one.
He said
Yes, Tubman.
copyrighted. Like there's one thing to hold people accountable and another thing to make a final judgment for
All right,
people.
Timmy, gotta do that.
Oh, but nail, bro. Hey, just let it be, man. Let it be.
All right. Speak your pace. I mean, speak your piece,
Keep
MJ.
it pace.
Sick of
Okay.
you.
Yeah. So it's like there's one thing to hold people accountable and another thing to make final judgment. And then when people take cancel culture too far is when they make a final judgment on certain people and like they don't even confront these people up front and then they just like say it as it is. And this kind of reminded me of this KB song I was listening to. And then I think at the end there was like this lady that was speaking and then she was like that race isn't a thing. That she has like an argument that race isn't a thing and that it's like there's ethnicity. So it's like when a group of people are in a certain space and then they begin to behave a certain way. So when you generalize something like race, it's like, what about these people who are in this different place? And then we see an evidence of that happening somewhere like Africa, where it's like you have majority of the people there black, but yet there's still like this like segregation between each person because of they spend like all this time together. So it's like if I was to make a final judgment now, it's like I can't really do much of a final judgment on those people. I can't really cancel like someone who's not from like let's say someone who's Ghanaian. I can't make a final judgment on them because like we didn't grow up with the same thing. We didn't have like the same judgment or the same like upbringing. So like we have like some differences in our decisions. So it's like there's still room for differences. So it's like I guess getting into conversation, like understanding where those places are and really bringing those places into light. So like before making like the final judgment to like cancel someone, like it's kind of like what the Bible says, right? If you have something with your brother, right, go up to him first, and then after you go up to him and he doesn't agree, then you bring witnesses as well to say, hey man, look at this guy, man, this guy's is wilding out, bro. And then if he still doesn't agree, okay, you held your peace, but like don't make that final judgment upon the person, because like look at how many people's lives have been ruined because of like the whole cancel culture thing, where someone did something, like a mistake, and then it's like their whole life is just downhill, probably go into drug addiction, probably get some tattoos because they have been cancelled and people have decided to make that final judgment upon them.
I just phone the tattoo.
Leaving no space.
My man's got tattoos in there, bro.
It's like when it gets to that space, it's like leaving no space for repentance. Because like they didn't get like a chance to repent. So it's like
Like, you know what I mean? Blatantly, like you on camera, it's AC 4K. You just being straight racist, bro. I don't know what to tell you. You got to hold that L that you're gonna receive, like, because some things you can't let slide, in my opinion.
Johnny spit he put gum on my shoe in the 3rd grade. That's like all right, like
those ones hit different, man.
It's like that's not it's like that's not. I mean, maybe outworthy, but that's not like you're losing your job over that. But it's like the things that I've seen people getting, and it depends because no. All right, here's a good thing. That entire thing we're talking about. Which artist had beef a couple days ago? I mean, a couple weeks ago. It was and was it like it was when that dude was making that song in response to I forgot what it was.
You talking about No Name and J. Cole?
Yeah, like that.
Oh,
like
man.
what J. Cole, what J. Cole was getting canceled for, like stuff like that. That's petty. That's extremely petty. Like if you find cancer for artists for having their opinion on something or having something that isn't the unanimous opinion, which is going back to the older generation of hierarchies, because the older generation and so-called woke Twitter now, they'll be the first. Boondocks is coming on Netflix. Boondocks is coming on Netflix.
Is it actually?
Twitter's about to be annoying when that comes out.
Is it on Netflix?
Yo, Think Peace Twitter is going to be unbearable. They're gonna be saying they're gonna be nitpicking different things, and people like that trying to cancel shows because of that, trying to cancel people. That's the stuff that literally makes people blur the lines between holding people accountable and the whole cancel culture, because everything is how the phrase one good apple spoils the bunch. It's if a lot of people use one bad apple, did I say one good apple? One bad apple spoils the bunch. So if you use cancel culture as terms for accountability, then those two start to get meshed with each other, and then we don't know which is which anymore, which I think that's exactly happened. And Temmy's right, because it's the whole thing is only God can judge. Only God can judge. But people also have to be remind themselves that there is consequences with the words that you speak. When you speak something into existence, that's why people say never speak ill of yourself in any way, or speak something into existence, because it something will happen. And if you're on Snapchat, or you get caught on camera, hey, look what happened to homeboy Papa John's. Look what happened to him. Look what happened to Papa John's. He
did say the M-word in a corporate meeting.
He did.
A corporate meeting, bro? Oh, come on now.
No, Josh, but it's context. You're a pizza company. At what point are you talking about the M-word in a corporate meeting about pizza?
I mean, that could literally be the same thing as anywhere. It's like there is no context for you.
Hold on, you know what John said?
Wait. We're talking about burnt pizza.
I said, them niggas love pizza. That's what you said in the meeting, yo. That's just what
I thought the context was if you're talking about burnt pizza, and then you're talking because you're burnt. Well, it's that's the thing is a lot of people under Twitter, the comments, they like to say, what was the context for the N-word? There is no context. If you are ever the complete opposite pigment of the rainbow, you just can't say it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's there is no context for you to utter out that word, whether you're a teacher, lawyer, the president, another time.
Yeah.
But it's there really is no context for that.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you talk about context too, because in terms of the Boondocks, which I didn't know was coming on Netflix, but that's so dope. Yeah, thanks for that. But I'm gonna watch that tonight. But it's the whole thing about context, because when you look at the Boondocks, they have a lot of hot topics in their show, when Riley was calling people gay, or when
That's gonna piss off a lot of people. That kind of stuff.
No, people.
People,
I can't wait to see Twitter. Oh, I'm sorry.
They're gonna be annoying as hell.
Yeah, or like the R. Kelly episode, but those were all within their rightful context because they were criticizing people who like allowed for those things to happen.
You had the episode of the teacher wanting to say the N-word because Riley was saying the N-word.
He said nigga, but in that whole side about it too, like this paper talk. I'm like,
he said, "Nigga, can I get a fry?"
It's based on a real event too.
He calls me. He calls me, and he calls himself it. He calls him stupid.
And I'm like, I can't wait for Twitter for that because you saw how Think Piece Twitter was taking on Avatar when Avatar and Legend of Korra got on there. They were picking that show apart.
For what? What are you picking apart for?
They were having like talks about Azula and how like her mentality. And it's just like I'll tell
they
you.
overanalyze the smallest things. I'm like, bro, it's a kid show at the end of the day, bro. Like, give me
I'll tell you all these things after if we're done.
Yeah. Well, but that's good though. I think that's to wrap it up. We can all agree that like accountability isn't wrong, but it's what?
Oh, let's like understand what accountability is, right? So who are you holding accountable? Like that's a question for everyone. Who are you holding accountable, and like how do you hold someone accountable? And if you're counseling someone, how do you do that?
It's weird because when it's something like that, the first people that they try and hold accountable is first the person, and then if it's not the person, then it's the parents. And it's like whenever I hear it's like, oh, like did your parents raise you to do this, or where were your parents? It's like, look, you can be raised by the best parents ever and still do some messed up crap.
Facts.
Like just because your parents raised you to be the best does not mean other people can influence how you act, what you do, what you watch, how you behave outside. Because when you're an adult, you have like the rest. I'm not saying when you're an adult. When you get to like 16 or 17, you're spending more time, I want to say, outside your house than you are with your parents. Mm-hmm. So it's like your parents, I'd say, raise you like they continue to raise you until you're like 18, because once you're like 18 or 20 you're an adult. But I'd say like the time from being an infant to I'd say like around like 15 or 16 is that time where it's like, okay, that's when like the balance starts to shift, because like they raise you, okay, like their job isn't done, they still provide like schooling, food, like shelter, like everything else. But when like your mentality and how you see things, that's when you start to go your own way, in my opinion. So your parents can do a great job doing that, but once you get to like that age when you can start like thinking for yourself and you get to see the world like through your own eyes and not being like sheltered, if you are, and you truly get to start making your decisions based off the people that you're around, because your parents don't know who you're around. Like, mm-hmm. I mean, unless your parents will call you and say, I need this person's number whenever you're going out, or this, that, and the third, then it's fine. But it's like after that, it's like they really don't know, because you start to go out with people, you're in school with them, you ride the bus, you can go to like different areas by yourself with your friends, you can go to the mall. There's so many places that you start to develop your own mentality and your own ideas, and like they aren't there.
So it's like when you're holding someone accountable, you're pretty much pointing out at the person, right? So like the audience is the person. So like with cancel culture, for example, so like if I shoot like a text at like J. Cole, like at J. Cole, hey man, look, something, is that accountability on like cancel culture, where it's like, hey, look at what J. Cole did or something like that? Like, is that what like the difference is between like the accountability and cancel culture?
I mean, think about it like biblically too. Like how in small group we have like accountability partners, which like which like when you break it down, it's like when you mess up and then either fall into temptation, sin or whatever, that's the person that you call like, yo man, I messed up, or they notice it and then they call you saying like, yo, like you messed up, that wasn't right, but it's okay, here's how you get back on track, like pray for you, whatever. That's my idea of holding someone accountable, is just like trying to get them back on the right path. If they did something that was either offensive or outlandish or whatever, I'm like, yo, that's not cool, here's why. Like, and then them changing or them receiving it is dependent on them entirely. I can't force somebody to change, but I can at least introduce why they were wrong.
See, and then in a perfect world, that's how it makes sense.
Right.
But for like in this world that we're in, and again, like it's all, again, this goes back to Teme's topic on like your identity, because what is your identity if someone slides into your DMs and just straight up says, "Oh, I don't like this N-word, hard R, N-word, this, that, and the third." It's like, as a like an African American, are you going to A, do this, or B, pray for them, do all of this? It's about your mental state in that instance, because I told you, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, like Myles Garrett, the defensive end for the Cleveland Browns. He was literally exposing DMs left and right after because I think he made like some decision that NFL fans weren't happy with, and they know how like NFL fans are, like, we think of you as entertainment, like you're not your own like individual like person. So he was just basically he was like exposing DMs like left and right on Twitter a couple weeks ago, and like black people were saying, "Oh yeah, go do this, that, and the third, like find out this person's like who they are." And it's like the balance. It's like, as black people, it's like we're tired. It's like at what, and it's like, as again, God calls us to love, but at what point do we have enough? Because again, it's like we're Christian first, always, but it still hurts. It still hurts. So at what point is it like, like how much can we take as being both in terms of cancel culture or accountability?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like being Christian means that you got to be like a punching bag, bro. Like, I never really agree with that stance. I know that they say like turn the other cheek and everything. And of course, like you got to be able to pick and choose your battles. Of course, you don't gotta fight against everything. You don't gotta sit down and take everything at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Pick and choose your battles wisely at that. And I feel like I don't know about doxing people. That might be taking it too far. But like, I'll call you out if I gotta call you out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I use to the N word and be like, hey yo, watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna like swing on you automatically. Actually, never mind. I'll change that back. I might swing on you, but I might. Depends on how you're saying it. But like, it really is just like you gotta pick and choose your battles. That's how I see it. I'm not gonna just sit here and just be a punching bag because I'm a Christian. Like, I don't know, just because I read the Bible don't mean these hands ain't ready for nobody. That's all it is. That's all.
Try Jesus. He said, "Try Jesus, not me."
Try Jesus, not me. 'Cause I throw hands.
Yeah, like can you see, like I'll reach out to you, man. I'll come at you, man. But it's like when I'm canceling you, like for example, some people are cancelled and they didn't even know that they were cancelled, and they just got cancelled, and then it's like they find out like long after people are canceling them, people are shooting them like DMs, and people are like saying all manners of stuff to them, and they're like, oh shoot, what did I do? And then they realize it's something that they did like 5 years ago. So it's like kind of like that with cancel culture. And I guess like that's where like I was trying to like understand with cancel culture, where it's like you don't necessarily reach out, or you're not necessarily going to this person, but like you're going to this audience, and then it's like from this audience that like the feed is coming in. So it's like
Okay, I get what you're saying.
when yeah.
All right,
Okay.
Mhm.
see, all right. Here's a great thing. All right. So canceling, like the whole thing about cancel culture that John's talking about, is like years ago, Michael B. Jordan made a comment saying my preference on women is not African American women or this, that, and the third. He didn't bash them. He just said it.
Mhm.
Years later, he's still getting dragged or canceled for his opinion. That's whack.
Right.
Now, my whole thing is, date who you want to. Don't bash black women in the process of dating who you want to. I don't think he did, but he's still getting dragged for it. Like anytime opinion on, like, you know, black men with black women or black, because it's always a back and forth on the TL. It's relentless. But it's like, there's still, every time there's an opinion and he speaks up about it, they want him to speak up. Like, they were like, oh, what's your stance on this? And he still gets and he's still trying to get canceled as, oh, you said you're doing this, oh, this, that, and the third. And then you see hashtag or Michael B. Jordan like just shutting on like Twitter for like, you know, like a whole good like 11 hours or 12 hours. That is the cancel culture that's like, you know, dumb for no reason, and people are just finding a reason to be mad because it's Twitter and everyone wants to be keyboard warriors behind Twitter. But when it comes face to face, you're not going to say that to Michael B. Jordan. You're going to want to ask
Silence.
Say trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers.
Exactly.
Honestly,
you're going to be asking for his autograph, and you're going to want to be taking pictures with him if he poses about your college on a movie set. Like, that's like sooner or later, as soon as you see him, all those things are gonna go in one ear and out the other. It's like against Jutsu. You're gonna be putting like, you know, to Sugomi. It's gonna be gone. But
but he's gonna remember.
That's what I think about. Oh, my fault, bro. But that's what I think about cancel culture. Is like a lot of y'all. It's just, most of it's like, it's a bunch of people that's insecure about certain parts of themselves. When people don't talk about that in some way, they get mad about it. And want everybody else to be mad about it. Like, in my opinion, I don't care about what a celebrity is dating. In my opinion, so I really, you can date a white person, a black person, be whoever you want. That doesn't matter to me. You don't know me. I don't know you. You're just a celebrity. But like, most people care more about it than they should.
Most times cancel culture is they're canceling someone based off their opinions. And if they're and then again, context is also key, like Adele was talking about. If your opinion was racist, then by all means go, like, you need to be hold accountable for your like words, because people in power, their words hold power. If you're a celebrity, your words hold power. If you're if you're in a position of power, your opinions reflect on your company and everything you've done up until then. That's why, you know, like Harvey Weinstein, he had to go, like every like his opinions, like he canceled all of them. Grapevine and Danny. Opinions, on the other hand, are like someone's like getting canceled because they made a, like, you know, a height opinion or a weight opinion or something that, like, Twitter's full of opinions until it's opinion that doesn't match yours. Like, Twitter is a place for opinions until it's
put on a plaque.
What? Exactly. So it's like, oh, I like it, I'm gonna say my opinion all day. But until it's someone else's opinion, it's like, oh, I don't like this. Let's just get the band of merry like men and take you down. And then that's where it starts to get into like that's like the cancel culture. So that's my final stance on it. Don't cancel off of dumb opinions.
Don't, because opinions change, but the effects of cancel culture don't change. So
well, you can say it's dumb, but like, don't ban their account. Like,
yeah, like, come on, everybody deserves grace, because if God didn't give us grace, we all be going to hell. So
facts.
Right.
You going to hell in a blanket.
You said, I mean, you can cancel the man, but don't make him lose his job, man. I mean, shit, man, he work hard, bro.
Stop it.
Yo,
I can't with your voice, bro.
I'm about to ban you from the chat, bro.
Stop it. Yeah, I'm trying to be like Michael Jackson.
I'm gonna try to lower it when I edit the podcast, but
Might have to, yo.
but
lower his like I don't
Wait,
know.
how about now? How about now?
Shoot, I can do it myself. Hold on, I got Discord open.
Wait.
Not to
Wait, how about now? How about now?
Just put that server mute on that. Yep, and then
That's foul. Yeah, this man got me. All right.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Yo.
I'm crying.
Anyway,
right.
What's next?
let's move on.
Yo?
Our next topic is about 2020 and how it's continuing to surprise us every single day. And this is Josh's topic.
It's like chasing the positive of 2020, because 2020 this fall has been one giant train wreck after the But no, let me finish. Like, you see that SpongeBob episode when Sandy was chasing SpongeBob and Patrick for making fun of Texas? It's like that. You just keep on getting roped after rope after rope, run away. And you keep just getting roped after rope. But it's like you gotta look at the positives. Like, I know it's hard because so many things have happened, so many people have died, so many of our beloved people have died. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Soon,
absolutely.
But it's like while all you're focusing on the negatives are happening, it's like you need to focus on the positives, on where you are, how this time has allowed you to grow as a person. Because if nothing else, this has granted us time. And the best thing about it is not everyone has luxury of time. And not everyone has the luxury of being still. Because while we're doing this, there are countries that are still going through just like chaos and like uprising. So the thing is, while we may have it like bad right now, other people have it so much worse. And then this time that's given us is to reflect on the positives that this has given us. Like, we wouldn't have been starting this if it wasn't for quarantine.
True.
Like,
That's true.
this podcast would not be a thing if it wasn't for a quarantine. So we have that to look forward to. We have that to be thankful for. We have, more time with God. It's still, like,
100%.
we're still, and in a place with, in a world that's constantly moving, like, especially like New York City. They say New York City is a city that never sleeps. There are pictures where New York has been just vacant. Like, Times Square has been vacant. It's like the time has stopped, but God's love for us hasn't stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, everything that you look for, that because people look for the negatives. It's how news is news. News is like 90% of the news is negative. Like, that's just how it's going to be, because it's a story. No one's going to want to see like, oh, so-and-so had a huge birthday balloon like party. It's like, it was all like that's a feel-good story, but that's not the story that's going to get the clicks and incite terror, or, oh, what's the next thing that's going to happen in 2020. And while we joke and it's like, oh, what's next, it's like that's actually what generates clicks. But the best thing is knowing where you're at, reading the Bible a lot more, like focusing on like yourself, because again, if nothing else, you could the grind. Like, trust me, if you have been doing nothing during this quarantine, then I've heard, like, if you're not doing anything during this quarantine, then it's like you can't say you never had time.
Right, you got 6 months. 6 months.
Exactly, you can't say you never had time from and even if you're in college, come on, like, college and school at home, you get on for like an hour, you get off. You could be doing so many different things. You could be doing so many different projects. You could be reading so many different Bible scriptures that you just have to do. So again, if nothing else, the thing that I'm positive for is that it gave us time.
Yes, sir.
That's facts. That's something that I've been like convicted on, actually, because I recognize that, and I recognize that like I do have more time than ever, and I have grown a lot and matured a lot and gotten closer to God and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, I feel like for me it's different because we're stuck in not stuck, but we're confined watching like trying to better ourselves, while at the same time watching the world just go to complete hell. And it's weird, because you can like I feel good most days, but then I still like remember that there's all this stuff going on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's like, and that's part of the reason why I was talking about before we started about like me wanting to like move back to Philly and whatever, because like I don't know, I get that that normal for what it was before is like gone now. Like we're never gonna go back to the way that things were, but I do want the freedom to be able to go out into the world and like see what that new thing is, like what that new normal is gonna look like. That's the thing that's been hitting me, is that we don't even have the freedom to move forward. Whereas, at least in the greater sphere of things, like ourselves and our spirits, we're bettering ourselves and our spirits, but we can't better like the world yet, and we can't like move forward from this. That's what's been hitting me. But I do feel that, and I'm definitely like appreciative always for like, you know, nobody in my family has like lost their jobs. My parents are both alive. Like my brothers are alive. My cousins are like everyone's good. So I definitely, you know, thank God every day for that, because I know there's people that don't have that luxury. Like my mom just turned 44 last week. Like many people didn't get to see that age.
That's true. Yes, 44.
Yes, Tim, 44.
Tim, you're not muted anymore.
Yeah, you
right? This guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know, man. I just this will definitely be a time that we'll get to like recount to like our kids and like our grandkids, and yeah, it'll just like, this has definitely been a weird season. I feel like we talked about this in like episode 2, I think, but just how I feel like God had to destroy the way that everything was, so that way when we're released back out, we can rebuild it. Because think about it, like there's a whole generation of kids, or not kids, of adults that are our age, who are like us, also like following God and following Jesus, that will go back out into the world and help to rebuild it. And I feel like that wouldn't have happened if, you know, if normal was still there. Like I feel like God had to destroy normal before he let us back out.
Basically,
so that we can help rebuild.
Basically, God had the earth on a table, and what he did was he shook it a little bit. He said, "Shake the table."
Right. It needed to be done.
For real.
Because honestly,
I
will say through this quarantine, bro, and then and through everything, even though like you say like so many bad things that happen at the same time. But I mean, if you can go through this entire year and say that no good things happened to you at all, then I was like, damn, like I mean that's tough. Cause I can understand myself that no good things happened to me. Right? Like I mean, if anything, I'm thankful for the quarantine, because I learned a lot and improved a lot in a lot of my craft, and I'm blessed for that. And plus, a lot of this the changes in the government and stuff, and racial tensions and all that stuff, although as bad as they are, at the same time, we're probably making progress and trying to get those solved. And it's like, you know, there's so much, you know, although bad happens, like we're at a low, but like at some point, you know, the high supposed to come after. You know, it's like a roller coaster. You know, there's always the lows and highs. This is literally between the low for most, but I mean, at the same time, the high is coming. So you can be hopeful, even if your year isn't as good as you want it to be. You know, so that's just how I see out the year with it.
Yeah, I remember a lot of pastors were talking about how 2020 would be the year of vision, which it still is.
Yeah,
like people like people now see the world for what it really is, and not for like the way that people try to like romanticize it. Like this is how life is for a lot of people. They don't have the option to like see outside of their circumstances. Like, bro, this whole quarantine has kind of showed me that like we're like adults now. Like I remember one of my friends got engaged and is moving to Cali. Another one of my friends is moving down to Atlanta with her boyfriend, and like
Josh,
and,
are you hearing this, bro?
yeah, and and
Was that a
like
shot,
just
Tim?
like
Was that a shot I heard?
Are you trying to say Josh
Yeah, I'm
is
coming
shorty,
after
bro?
you.
You trying? Damn, bro. That's
I'm
crazy.
hold on, wait,
Timmy.
John,
Timmy, you talking
I'm
crazy.
coming
Hold
after.
on.
I'm coming after you, Timmy.
Well, I
You-
mean,
Josh, you got a shorty?
No, I don't. No, that was a shot.
that was the shot that Tim was shooting low key. Yo, Tim was
Mm.
walling with that, yo.
Yo, John, you tell me for a second. Actually, for like 5 minutes.
Hey, yo, you guys
Tim,
are just
chill,
making it
bro, I
too
got
deep.
you.
It's not that deep, bro. It's not that deep.
Nah, bro.
Come on, man.
You came at that man crazy. Yo. You gotta hold that.
Put him back in detention.
You came at that man crazy, yo. You can't be doing that, yo.
All right, say
But for real though, like, and I was just thinking, like, all my friends are making these big moves that like are like adult size moves. So once I get out, I know that I can do the same because like I'm 19, I'm an adult now, so I can like I can do those things too if I wanted to. But well, of course, I would need a girl first, so you know.
Right.
But 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 it's true. It's like once we get out, we can do whatever we set our mind to, regardless of what those things are. So once we do get out, which I hope is, for second semester, because that's 6 months from now.
At least by 2021, yo. Like, man,
at least
2021.
yo.
At least 2021. Like 2020, I kind of accepted I'm gonna be in quarantine for, or at least like have the virus for. But like at least 2021, we can like I can like see my friends again and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Right.
especially like 2021. Like no, not 2021. Like no, 2021 is going to be the year that we put what we learned in 2020 during quarantine into action.
Into action, exactly. Into action.
I've been doing nothing since taking notes. I've been attending church. I've been listening to I've been listening to Transformation Church. I've been listening to. I've been reading I've been reading Michael Todd's relationship book over again to catch things if I didn't miss it the first time.
Yeah.
I've read like I've read the 5 love languages for singles, bro. I've been on the grind.
Yo, real talk, I've been on the same like wave.
All right.
I mean,
you got it.
What?
So what?
Oh,
I said, tell me that. Speak your piece.
Oh.
Yeah, man. I mean, like 2020 is. Yeah, man. I mean, like 2020 is like
You sound like a surfer.
But yeah, it does have its ups and its downs, And I think like we spoke about this last time, when you focus so much on the downsides that you totally miss all the good times and all the good things that have come up. And like I said, like I still have this hope that something amazing is going to happen, and like I can't necessarily write off the year till the year is over. And I have good history now under my belt. Like, who can say like they lived through 2020? Like I can say that.
Facts.
And when I have kids, I'm like telling them the story of the year 2020. It's like it sounds like even the name alone sounds like a movie. It's like 2020.
Basically, all I'm saying is now 2020 is everything we expected 2012 to be.
Yes, correct.
That's facts.
Yeah.
It's everything we expected 2012 to be, because the whole movie 2012. Yeah, that's right now. Half of Cali is burning, which is what was literally in the movie, because they had the volcano eruption.
Was it?
You hear
Yeah.
about that, bro? Bro, it's literally orange over there, bro.
No. Not today. Like I know that in real life it is, but like in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie 2012. So you remember when the homeboy was up at the like mountain saying you heard it first from Charlie?
Oh, snap!
That's when the volcano started to like erupt, and like the volcano, and then you got all the fire everywhere and like the lava. That was in Cali.
Oh dang! Look at that.
I was like, thanks.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess this is a good transition into our next topic about like how school has been. because when school first started for me, I was like, let me just get through this year so I can like get to Christmas break and then hopefully get back to campus. But when you do that, it's like there's so much that you miss because you're focused so much on let me just get through it all that you miss like the valuable lessons and like the valuable stuff. Like I'm learning a ton of stuff about like Illustrator and design and stuff like that, and ultimately that's what I'm working towards. So I can't just be like, let me just blow it off because of how the year has been. Like y'all can't see my desk, but it's like mad filthy because I got a bunch of designs and sketches and whatever on it. And like all I'm trying to say is that don't like write off the things that you're experiencing now because of how you're experiencing them. Because at some point, like what Josh said, in 2021, we're gonna be back, and we're gonna have to apply the things that we learned in quarantine to there. So instead of focusing on that, focus on the now and take it day by day, and know that every day that you're alive and that you're working on either school or a job or whatever the case is, or if you're resting, if God has called you to rest, then go ahead and rest. But if you're doing something every day, and if you're waking up every day, to just live in the moment. Because even though the moment's crazy, you won't get that chance once we're back out in the world again. At least not to this degree. Because the world's gonna keep on moving once we're back out, and you're not gonna have.
Hopefully not to this degree.
So what?
I said hopefully not to this degree again, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, and don't rule it out. Like, make time to reflect every day. Make time to pray every day. Like, make time to mentally stimulate yourself, but also to take advantage of this time because now folks have nothing but time.
Facts.
Even if you're in school, like I'm in school and I'm busy all the time, but like I have more time now than I did when I was a freshman. Because I wasn't walking back from class, going to get food, going to wing night. Josh, you know what I'm talking about, and like all that other stuff.
Chinatown every damn Friday, right, Timmy? Getting bonchon chicken every weekend, right, bro?
Hey, shoot,
I don't like bonchon chicken. You lucky.
I know chicken.
That was terrible.
Yo, insomnia cookie though, I missed that, man.
Woo! Insomnia.
Oh, I missed that. Bro,
I had to go on a retreat from chocolate for like, John, how long did I stop eating chocolate for? It was quite a long time.
It was quite a while,
I think
bro,
like right before I came back home.
Yeah, making that sound elegant. Just say you were fasting with chocolate. Then I went on a retreat with.
Do you know how crazy he was with chocolate, yo? This dude was the most out of pocket person to have chocolate in his room, yo. He had like chocolate covered everything, bro. He ate like chocolate cake. I was like, yo, this man is out of pocket with this much chocolate in the room. Now I'm the roommate, so I'm seeing this man just chomping down chocolate every day. I'm like, yo, you got diabetes. He's like, no, it's key. And I'm like, yo, this man is out of pocket, yo. And I'm like, yo, you gotta put the chocolate down. Like, we have to stop.
I'm saying is, if we ever become roommates, I'm locking in a safe.
Bro, there was a insomnia cookie underneath my dorm building, like on the first floor.
Oh yeah.
Morgan's
that's just like Kung Fu tea.
Oh, you got Kung Fu tea downstairs in our building, yeah.
I don't know how I didn't get fat. I was literally eating insomnia every week. I would pick it up on Monday. I would get the dozen, and I would just eat one cookie a day until I had to re-up.
John, what was that deal for insomnia that we were doing? It was like you get like this amount of free cookies, so I just kept doing it, and we just kept eating cookies.
Yeah, it was like buy one order get 3 free, and like we get like a dozen, but it's like 15. I mean, every time, all the time.
Yeah, that's what I miss. Honestly, it's less about like school and more about like just the social scene. Cause I live in the suburbs, right? Like, ain't nothing going on around here.
I live in the suburbs.
There's nothing going on around here. Like, the place that hold on, what was I saying? Oh, Josh gotta go.
Oh, okay.
All right. All right. We can go ahead and end it there. So, thank y'all for coming to episode 7 of M.O.G. I'm sorry that we couldn't get to your questions again, like we promised last time. But Josh had to go. God dang. Anyway, we'll get to your questions in the next episode. We promise. There's no real timeline for these right now because of how school is, but we're gonna try to do this as soon as we can.
Sir.
But thank y'all for coming. We love you. We appreciate you. Stay blessed. Stay healthy. Wear your freaking masks.
Please.
Map.
And we'll see y'all on the next one.